Postgame show, Jay Phillips, Terry Ford. I tell you, man, we don't have much to talk about, Jay. Kind of a boring, slow sports time.
We got a few added things today that I'm going to throw in. I don't want to, hijack the show right away, but have you seen that our boy Bruce Koepka
I know.
coming back?
How about that guy? How about that guy?
I know it's Brooks. Don't somebody text in and say
I know.
It is. It's just me having fun. But
yeah, I'll tell you.
But that's a thing, and there's a very, very special, limited opportunity. It's almost like those things act now. Time is limited.
Hey, only five left. Only 5 left.
Well, that's true. I think there's actually 3.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's 3 qualifying players that have 3 weeks to decide if they want to come back on the tour. It's John Rahm, Cam Smith, and who's the other one? And Bryson. So anyway, that just happened.
The 3 is
they had a meeting at
guys.
1 o'clock, for real. The Tiger Woods and Adam Scott and those guys that are on that players' advice. They met at 1 o'clock, Terry. So 2 hours ago, they were like, all right, here's what we'll do. So apparently Koepka's coming back, and Koepka's gonna forfeit.
He's got a lot of dough, man. I was getting ready to say don't get me wrong. He's not going to be working over at Shoot Carnival or anything, but
no, he's okay.
He's okay, but yeah, he is walking away from a lot of scratch to get back to the PGA Tour. Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
Anyway, we'll
now let me ask you this real quick, and we'll discuss it later. All right, any of those other guys you think will come back?
I think John Rahm might. I don't know. I don't know if Bryson and Cam will yet. I don't know. My gut, I was really surprised when John Rahm left, because I remember when the other guys were making their exits, he really stood firm on the PGA Tour thing, and then one day he didn't, and it's basically because Live Tour was like, okay, instead of $100 million, how about $200 million,
right?
Or something like that. I don't have the exact numbers, but
though I don't. Maybe it's just me because I don't watch every tournament every week. But ever since Rahm left, it just doesn't seem like he's the same player. He doesn't seem comfortable, Jay. He just really doesn't.
He has not been the same player at all. Bryson has played well. A couple other guys have done all right, but John Rahm has definitely lost touch.
Mm-hmm.
No doubt. So we'll see. But anyway, that just happened. So that was sort of some breaking sports news. But anyway, how you doing?
Fantastic now, because my life is so much better if I know Brooks Koepka's on the PGA Tour.
I know, right?
A lot better now.
I am glad, and if it means the demise of the Live Tour, this particular golf fan speaking to you at 3:03 on a Monday isn't going to cry any tears over
Absolutely
it.
Not. All right, so we had a boring weekend. No football at all. Man, how many straight days of football we have that was do or die, win or go home? That was fun, man.
Even Friday night's college game, you and I were talking about that Friday, that we hoped we could even get 75-80% of what we saw Thursday
we got 5%, Jay. We got 5%.
No, but it was still, but almost, Terry, and I suppose this is one of those things of sometimes people look at car accidents. It was compelling television. I just, at that point, wanted to see, just how thorough Indiana could be. And, look, man, I don't know how you feel as a college football fan. I will tell you, every time I watch them now, even if it's a 3-point win over Ohio State where the Buckeye kicker missed one, to, how they dismantled Alabama, to what they did the other day, it's just watching how Kurt Cignetti has his team execute.
Mm-hmm.
And almost live. It's so cliche in sports or life, day by day, play by play, next man up, all those kind of things, right? And yet Indiana is living it, and you see it. It's compelling television. It's compelling viewing to just watch how everything unfolds. And look at what they did. First play of the game, pick 6, 2 fumble recoveries, down low, touchdowns, block punt, touchdown. Mendoza doesn't have to do much, and yet when he's doing things, he's virtually flawless. They can run the football. They can attack the opposing quarterback. they seem to always be checked into the right formations, the right plays. Everything they're doing is just spot on, and I like watching it. I'm not going to say I'm pulling for them or against them, and hell, I wish that game was tonight, man. I'm ready for it. I don't like having to wait a week. But it was fun to watch. And then just to branch off, and we'll come back around to all these more individually. But, yeah, Saturday NFL, I mean, I was really impressed that the Panthers hung around. I think maybe, look, Rams jumped out, and then the Panthers found a way back. And good for them. Like, you might have thought it could have been the opposite, where maybe L.A. flying all the way across the country was going to be a little sluggish early, and the Panthers might have had a chance. But that really wasn't the case. Jacksonville yesterday, I wasn't surprised the Bills won, but Jacksonville had their chances.
That was a hell of a fourth quarter, man. That was fun.
It was great, man. And the Niners game, I think maybe the Niners game, I don't know. I don't know which one was better, Niners, Eagles, or Packers and Bears. Both of them were a lot of fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of surprised the Packers lost, man, because they were playing. I think the better team didn't win that game. Sorry, Bears fans, but I think the Packers were playing better football and found a way to lose, Terry. I don't necessarily believe that the Bears found a way to win. Maybe that's just my point of view. I don't know how you feel. Last night's game, unfortunately, was kind of boring.
Oh, it was awful. If you need to sleep, that was the one. That was a good nap game.
If you're a Patriots fan, you had fun, but otherwise, the Chargers I know the Chargers have been banged up of late, and maybe unfortunately for them, it's just injuries caught up to them at the most inopportune time of the season. I don't know what we'll get tonight. Again, with all due respect to Houston, not overly enthused by this game tonight, but the Pittsburgh Steelers are playing, so America will be watching, But yeah, man, heck of a football weekend for sure. I enjoyed it, and I was really happy with the Niners. Again, everybody know I'm a Denver fan, but I thought the Niners were going to win, man. I don't know why, but I did, and so I'm glad they proved me right.
Look, they're like my second favorite team behind the Ravens. I've been a Niners fan longer than I've been a Ravens fan, but I just thought San Francisco going into Philadelphia all banged up. I mean, you're missing your best defensive players. Your wide receiver room has been gutted. You've got injuries everywhere. You got the defending Super Bowl champions in their house with their fans who have been tailgating for 4 days, and the place is going to be insane, and they have a prison. I'm just like, I thought that would be the game Philly would win, then they'd lose next week. But I give the 49ers man, that was grit, dude. That was just grit to come back in that game and take the lead, and then Philly gets to the San Francisco 21 with, a buck and a half left in the game, and San Francisco bows up with the help of some being the Eagles this year. San Francisco's defense finds a way to get the stop and win the game. That was just flat-out grit, man. It just really was. It was impressive.
It was, and I watched in watching the pregame last night in between that one and the start of the Pats game, Jason Garrett was really, and I think a lot of people this morning, I know Orlovsky was on him on one of the morning shows, really just going after Sirianni in Philadelphia for being so predictable.
It's awful.
And I get that if you're Sirianni, you think, well, hey, man, this works for us. And I appreciate that. I do. Sometimes it's like we say, and I'm not trying to make a direct comparison here, but you and I joke a lot about the Nebraska teams of yesteryear, like, well, hey, we only run 6 plays, but you can't stop us on any of them, so we're just going to keep running them.
Right.
And I wonder sometimes if Sirianni doesn't feel that way about his ball club. Like, man, we get these guys open. We get Jalen in the right spot. He's going to thread the needle. We get Saquon to do Saquon things, and we're going to be fine. And it caught up with him last night. And I agreed with Garrett and Orlovsky that it may be just a little too predictable, but maybe they don't have another line to go to, Terry. I'm not sure. I don't know. I like Jalen Hurts, but I don't necessarily put Jalen in some of the same categories as I put – like, for instance, even, man, I'm ready to kind of put Caleb Williams ahead of Jalen Hurts these days, the way Caleb played the other night.
Well, the thing about Jalen Hurts –
and Jalen's won a Super Bowl. He's been to 2. I mean,
and he's played well in both of them. I mean, the thing with me was what we always just kind of poo-poo until it rears its ugly head, and then we poo-poo it some more. Losing a coordinator is huge. It's just a huge thing. Losing Kellen Moore, the Eagle offensive coordinator last year, is now the head coach in New Orleans. Losing Kellen Moore, and then they promote a guy from within, Kevin Petula, and it just didn't work. And the thing was super vanilla. They weren't motioning. They weren't doing anything. And I guess the thing that gets me is Nick Sirianni's a former offensive coordinator.
Right.
You knew what it looked like last year with Kellen Moore. And at no point this year did you really step in and look at Petula and say, hey, buddy, I need you to get my dry cleaning, go grab me a cup of coffee. I'll take the offense now. He just let this guy run into the ground and didn't save it. Hey, I guess he just kept believing that it was going to, because all these guys are so talented, I guess Sirianni said sooner or later, we're just better than you and we're going to be better than you. And it just never worked out. I think that's what it is.
That's my opinion, too. That's what it is. And then they get to the playoffs, and we'll let the defense take over because that's what we've done. And listen, that's not an unreasonable approach in my estimation. But you still got to go do a few things. I mean, we can talk about how you get to the playoffs and you're going to face good defenses. And look, I don't know what their scouting report was on San Francisco. I don't know how much they looked solely at last week where the Niners – just didn't have it at home in a really meaningful game against the number one seed, or at least the team that became the number one seed. So, Philly at home, all those kind of things last night, like, we'll be fine. Maybe you kind of lulled yourself into believing it.
Yeah.
But
I think what's really going to happen now is the Eagles will go get a real offensive coordinator again, and they'll be fine next year. That's too much talent.
Well, don't you try to – I mean, I know Mike McDaniel's going to be interviewing for some head jobs. And, again, if I'm him, I'm not touching Cleveland and a couple other gigs. But am I not wanting to throw, $3 or $4 million at Mike McDaniel for a couple of years and let him come be my guy?
I tell you what, man. Look, he's got a really good offensive mind. We forget that because of what's happened in the last couple of years. But when that offense was rolling – with Tua and Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and the stable of running backs they had, and they ran the ball really well, they threw it really well, that wouldn't be a bad thing. If he can't get a head coaching job, overpay him to come in and be the offensive coordinator. He can rebuild his rep again. You can get your offense going again. And really, if you get your offense back to what it was doing last year, you take all that talent with some creativity, sky's the limit for you. I don't think it's a bad idea.
You got to get a little more. Yeah, you need to get a little more out of Jalen because Jalen's got the tools. There's no question. But I don't know if you want to say regression or just kind of got stuck. And look, it's hard to repeat and all those kind of things. And
absolutely,
the Eagles are still good.
I think Jalen Hurts. Look, a lot of quarterbacks are like this. There's a certain lane for Jalen Hurts where that's his lane, right? And we've seen it. And when he's in his lane, he plays really well. It's when things go kind of sideways and you want him to now move into the Autobahn, that's where there's a problem. There's a lane where Jalen Hurts is. We've seen it. He's been fabulous when you have the pieces around him and you scheme it to his strengths. Jalen Hurts can be a Super Bowl MVP. It's when you get out of that sweet spot and start asking him to try to be maybe who he's not. And, all of a sudden you're not scheming stuff and you're saying, Jalen, just go make something happen for us. That's hit or miss. And I think a lot of times this year it got clunky, not just for him, but for all those guys on offense. And the offensive line was hurt. It was just, dude, it's just hard to repeat.
I mean, it happens. The sky is not falling, but you got to make a few tweaks.
Absolutely.
And Mr. Lurie's a good owner. He'll make those things happen.
They'll figure it out. They're not gone. They'll be back. Absolutely, they'll be back. All right, we'll continue this because we got a ton of football. And we got transfer portal. Have you watched all the film?
Yeah, I was going to say, man, Gamecocks had a big weekend, so we'll come back and touch on some of those.
And you told me you watched the film on every guy, right? Every guy you watched the film on today.
Sure, yes.
All right, we'll get into some portals of a busy weekend for the Gamecocks. We'll yap about that next here on the Postgame Show with Jay and Terry on the Game and the Game Network. As we get older as guys, stuff changes. It sucks. And you're like, why is this happening? I'm getting older. These things should not be going on. I should not have to sit here for a half hour to remember where my car keys are. I don't sleep well. I can't lift the weights I used to. I can't bounce back from workouts. I don't have the same drive in life that I had. I'm kind of bummed. What do I do? Well, it's easy. You call 803-875-MENS. You set up a consultation, a free consultation at the Men's Clinic of South Carolina. Tell them your story. And they will also give you a free testosterone test, because sometimes it's just low T. But whatever the case may be, Men's Clinic will put you on a program to get you feeling like you again, specifically designed for you. 803-875-MENS. Make that call to the Men's Clinic of South Carolina. Postgame show. Jay Phillips, Terry Ford hanging out with you. A busy weekend, especially in the transfer portal, man.
Yeah, some good stuff for Carolina. I know they're not done yet, but we were worried about. Well, I say we. Some people. I was one of them. What's the running back room going to look like? And that's not to take shots at the guys that are coming back, Terry, but I still feel like you need more. And now you've got an Ohio State running back and a Penn State running back. You had Sam Dixon commit the other day. We talked about that one on Friday. And then yesterday, a young man named Jabri Coleman, a 4-star, who did commit to Coach Drayton at Penn State last year, did not play. He redshirted last season, so he's got all of his eligibility left. So that's I don't have, other than high school numbers, we don't have a lot of production in terms of anything he's done at the collegiate level, but good enough to go to Penn State and play for Stan Drayton up there. So good enough to come down to Columbia now and add to the room. So Shane loves competition. Here's a kid from Ohio State. Here's a kid from Penn State to go along with the guys you're bringing back. So I think this is big. That's maybe the biggest one of the weekend. But they got some others this weekend too, including a kid named Kelby Collins, who's like a lot of guys these days, played some musical chairs. Was heavily recruited by Carolina, but went to Florida, spent a little time at Bama, and now making his way back to Columbia. So he can play really all across the defensive front. So another good pickup this weekend.
I like that, and I'm going to butcher it. From everything I've read and heard and seen, Tomiwa Durajave from Illinois, the defensive lineman. He's another guy. He's gone to like 16 different schools, but he's got some. From what I've heard and read, he's solid, man, and he'll help in that. He'll give you a little pass rush from the interior defensive line. Good run defender. Had a nice year last season. I like that guy. That's the one I like from over the weekend. I think that's a very interesting get for them. And Kelby's brother, Drew, in a short sample size, did a nice job rushing the passer at Arkansas State. So that's another interesting get.
Yeah, they got a big weekend. Seth Smith from Northern Arizona as well. Let's see, Emmett Rhodes, a long snapper from Western, right up the road in beautiful Cullowhee, North Carolina. So they've been busy. I looked. Let's see. Let me make sure I got it right. 24th right now in the transfer portal rankings. So yeah, take that as you will. It'd almost be nice if you could have retention bonuses for your transfer portal. Like, hey, what if we keep our quarterback, right?
Right.
So I don't know how much stock people put into those anyway, relative to high school recruiting rankings. I think they certainly matter, Terry. They do, and how much money you're splashing around. But when you have your top 3 guys stay at Carolina, if you will, in Lenoris and Nick Harbor, then you've got, and Dylan Stewart, then you're in good shape. So
you figure
24th isn't.
You paid like those guys. Those guys didn't come back for free, right?
No.
And all these guys, 17 commitments. None of these guys showed up for free, right?
No.
So obviously,
they all got Kroger gift cards.
Yeah. Hey, sweet deals from Cumulus Media. Anyway,
that's right.
So yeah, look, obviously, money is being committed to getting this football program back on the right track. That's one thing I've taken from all this. Again, I don't know how much these guys are all getting individually, but again, the kid Peak from NC State, arguably the best offensive lineman in the portal or tackle in the portal, he's not showing up for gift cards.
I gotta think he is absolutely in the same range financially as Lenoris and Dylan. Absolutely.
And
to some degree, Nick Harbor. I don't know that Nick is getting as much just based on production levels. Certainly, he's started to grow into his role as a wide receiver. But I would think Peak is. He was the number 1 offensive lineman in the class, man. So you're outbidding big names at that point.
Mm-hmm. I just think that's the one thing that struck me with it is obviously, and look, we've got to see how it plays itself out on the field. We get it. But there seems to be that the financial commitment that a lot of folks were either scared of, questioning, hoping for, whatever. There's been a financial commitment to bring guys in from the portal to get this thing together. There's no doubt.
Well, and that's what we talked about early in the offseason is the commitment that's going to be shown. And it's not like, hey, let's see if Jeremiah steps up. I wasn't ever concerned about Jeremiah Donati having a willingness or a desire for South Carolina's football program to be better, or Shane Beamer's for that matter. But we also talk about the financial limitations that South Carolina is going to have relative to some of the schools in the conference and some of the teams that they're going up against around the country. It's just a reality. I mean, I think everybody understands that. So finding it, applying it accordingly is going to be huge, and I think Carolina's doing that. So that's a real positive. And this week, for what it's worth, and I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent here, but only to bring it back around, Terry, our good friend Ben Portnoy is going to be covering the new NCAA meetings that are going to take place this week in Washington, and we'll talk to Ben hopefully in a couple of weeks once all this is wrapped up and maybe get a full report. But one of the things they're going to discuss is jersey patches for advertising. And I sit here and, again, let me be a smartass because I do that a lot. What's there to discuss? This should take about 30 seconds. Hey, everybody. How y'all doing? Good. Everybody want to vote on jersey patches for advertising for this coming season? All right. Everybody in favor?
Nay.
Aye?
Aye.
Right.
Aye. We're done.
Nay?
We're done.
All right. That's it. That's it. What is there to discuss? I don't want to hear a bunch of people going, well, they're not attractive. Shut up. I don't care.
You know what?
And again, we're not NASCARing these things up, and we're not going to do what soccer teams do and have, your front number replaced with a giant sponsorship logo. Your quarterback is still going to have his number on the front of his shirt, and most schools have their either school name or school nickname on the front of the shirt. You're going to put these on the shoulder. You're going to put them on the sleeve, whatever. Maybe you put it on the front chest like the NBA has done with something small. I don't care. But if this is somehow, Terry, is a no vote, I'm going to be hacked off. And I can't. I don't think it's going to be, to be honest with you. I don't think it's going to be.
We see this tastefully done.
What's the discussion?
We see this tastefully done all over professional sports. It's easy to do. This is not tough. This is not
Look,
a tough one.
We see it distastefully done sometimes.
Yes.
So and it's tasteful in the eye of the beholder. Again, I realize that there are some fans who don't like the direction college football has gone. I totally get it. I'm not here to judge you, not one bit. However, we have turned that corner.
It ain't coming back,
and we're not turning back around.
No, it ain't coming back.
We're not. So get used to these things. Get used to advertising on the field. Get used to a jersey patch. I'm telling you, I don't know why they're not going to go ahead and incorporate a helmet sticker, Terry. And while they're at it, why not go ahead and do it for the upcoming baseball season or for basketball? Why does this need to be individual? I don't know how many different sports are going to be covered at this latest convention. But do it. Just do it. Period. End of story. Do it. Okay it. Start selling them. Move on. Everybody wants the money, and schools like South Carolina could really use it. I keep coming back around to hopefully Carolina tapping into some of the resources of some of the big-name companies in our state these days, but go make that happen.
Look, we see the world. You want to compete consistently, you've got to have money. You got to generate revenue. You got to use the money right. You got to be smart, but you got to generate revenue if you want to compete consistently in today's world. You can scream at the clouds all you want, but at the end of the day, you've still got to make money if you want to compete. It's the way it is, man.
Yes.
It's the way it is.
Yes.
Right, we will
and
pop
again,
back.
We're not turning back around.
No, it's never going to happen. All right, we'll go pop back in here. We'll continue, obviously, with our Carolina conversation through the transfer portal. But again, looking back at what happened Friday, by the way, Indiana just scored again. All right, we're going to talk about the college football playoff championship game. That's next here on the Postgame Show.
the next game. I'm thinking about cracking open a beer.
All right, well, go celebrate with your family. Congrats. Enjoy that beer, Coach.
Thanks.
There is Coach Sig. Kurt Cignati after the demolition of Oregon.
I was glad he did that, man.
Yeah, me too.
I was watching that, and I was glad he did that.
Me too.
I thought, for all the – and he doesn't care, obviously, how much flack he's getting for the stare and the old curmudgeon look on his face and all that kind of stuff.
No.
But good for him, man.
Yeah.
Because I'm not even sure that his former boss, Nick Saban, would have said that after a playoff win.
I know. Look.
After a title game, maybe, but not after a playoff win.
I remember.
But instead, Kurt was like, "No, I just want to go get a cold beer."
I remember when Nick was first winning those titles at Bama, and they get him on the set, the post game, and he said, and he looked like that they were holding him at gunpoint. I mean, He looked miserable. It's like, dude, you just won a national championship. I got to go recruit. Or it's like,
well, yeah.
Or he would do this.
I get it.
Yeah, we only gained 700 total yards. I'm pretty annoyed. We left a couple of plays on the field. It's like, dude, take a breath for a minute and enjoy it. He got better as he got older, but I remember Nick when he was first starting to win titles, and Nick was like, screw this. We got to get working tomorrow. The thing, and obviously Cignetti worked for Nick, and it's just the idea that, with Cignetti saying what he said the other day, I like so much, Jay, because remember he had that little cut people were playing, and we played it here too, saying, I can't celebrate plays because the way we're built, we go to the next play and the next play. Yeah. If I start celebrating plays, that screws up my entire philosophy. And so everybody looked at him like, oh, come on, Gramps, enjoy yourself a little bit. But trust me, you and I both know when that guy's by himself after one of these games, he does 50 interviews and he goes home to crack that beer and he sits down, at some point a smile is coming across his face because what they're doing is historic. It's historic.
It is
what they're doing.
It is, and I said earlier, I'm not pulling for or against per se, but I maybe I'm lying. There's a part of me that really
I'm pulling for.
I want to see Indiana win, man.
Same here, man.
I do, and I think they're gonna. They were installed, I think, as 5.5-point favorites, up to 7.5. Mm-hmm. I do think they're going to have the majority of fans on Monday night, a week from tonight. Again, we got to wait a whole daggum week for this game to take place, which is that's not good for college football, in my opinion. But that's another story that we'll talk about later. Mm-hmm. But and by the way, Terry, and I'm serious about this, they took over that dome the way Georgia fans take it over, man.
It was crazy. It was an Indiana home game. Mm-hmm.
That was impressive. And I know, look, it's a big school. They got alumni everywhere, like a lot of Big Ten schools. It isn't like everybody drove down from Indianapolis to be there. I imagine the bulk of them are from Indiana, but they got people all over the place. Mm-hmm. I went to high school with a girl whose dad was a swimmer at Indiana, so I know, and they live in North Carolina now. So I think they were there actually, mm-hmm. That was impressive. And I know Oregon fans weren't going to be able to do that.
Right.
But to see that place was probably 3/4 Indiana fans, they had a good time. And I'm kind of expecting that next week. Maybe not quite that percentage, mm-hmm. but I think it's going to be pretty close. And I told you that before they even played that game. I was like, look, and I'm not knocking the Hurricanes here. The Hurricanes don't have a big, giant fan base of locals. They're not Florida. They're not Florida State. They're mm-hmm. not Georgia. They're not South Carolina or Clemson, man. I mean, they just don't have that. It's not that they're unpopular. They're just not as popular.
This isn't big state U. Miami's not big state U.
It's not.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. And I always remind people of that just to make sure they know. Again, the University of Miami is like Duke. Mm-hmm. Or Vandy or Tulane. It's a private school. It's not a small private school. It's a medium-sized private school, but it's a private school. Kids come from all over the world, and they come from especially from the Northeast corridor, just like they do at Duke and Vandy and Tulane. Mm-hmm. It's a nice running gag up in Durham, and I've heard some of that while I've been going up there more often. There's a lot of kids from somewhere else, Terry, as we like to say here in the South. that make their time down south, and then they head back home. And Miami is the same way. And that's it's just a fact. It's not a judgment.
No.
But I think locally they'll have fans there, and they will have people that will care. But Indiana is a big state U, and it is a giant school, and they are in an unprecedented situation. And they're going to make the most of it, man.
That's
so I expect IU
go.
fans to take over
right.
again.
I was going to go there. It's like this is one of the losingest programs in the history of college football. And it's a basketball school. And football was something to do that you go tailgate and drink and get ready for basketball season. You know, most of the time people didn't know the score of an Indiana football game. And now, look at where they're at. They went from irrelevant.
Heck, it was like we had a football game?
Yeah,
that was it.
Exactly. It's like they went from nothing to playing for a national championship in 2 years. So if you're an alum, if you're a fan of Indiana University, if you live in Bloomington, if you live in the state of Indiana, who saw this coming in their lifetime? Of course you're going to jump on the bandwagon, buy tickets, and go because there's a part of you that says, we might not ever have this happen again. So we're going to be part of this bleeping thing, and we're going to ride the wave from beginning to end, and that's why I'm like you. I expect a large crew of people wearing red running around South Beach. Wearing
absolutely
the big coats like the kid from Christmas Story, but they're going to be very well represented. And I'm gonna tell you, man, look, I will raise my hand. Last year, they were a cute story, but remember their schedule was really weak, and then the teams they did play that were any good beat them, and I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. They come into this year again. Remember we joked about them with their non-conference. Oh, you're running from Virginia. Ooh.
Yep.
But to their credit, to Curt Cignetti's credit, the games they lost last year, they got beat up at the line of scrimmage. So what did he do in the offseason? He said, to hell with that. We're going to build up the line of scrimmage, and we're going to do the beating up this year. And he nailed it. They run the ball down your throat. They win the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. And by the way, they punish you. They ain't screwing around, Jay. They are punishing.
No, that's why I said watching it on Friday night was compelling, if only to see how dominant they could be against what we know is a really good football team. A football team in Oregon, remember, and I remind everybody of this, that shut out Texas Tech. A Texas Tech team that lost once in their loss on the road at Arizona State, scored, I think, 22 or 23 points. In every other game, they were scoring more than 40 points. And Oregon shut them out, man. Shut them out. And the Oregon-Indiana game in Eugene was a really good football game. Oregon was the reigning Big Ten champion last season. Dan Lanning has it going, man. They're really good. They're really, really good at Oregon. And Indiana dismantled them. Just absolutely dismantled them. And, again, it was complete. It was thorough. It was all three phases. It was impressive to watch. I'm with you. They just knocked them out, and I just wanted to see what it was going to look like. Again, not to feel bad for Oregon, just to be like, how good is Indiana? And to your point, I'm just like you last season. I was picking on them a little bit, like, well, okay, it's a cool story. And even this year, like, all right, I don't know how good Illinois is, but you beat the crap out of them. But then you go to Eugene, and I'm like, well, they were down, and then they won, and then they, and Penn State, again, I know Penn State didn't have the season Penn State wanted to have, but they're still loaded with NFL dudes. They win that one. Then they, cruise along in most of the rest of their games. Then they beat Ohio State for a Big Ten title, which isn't supposed to happen up that way. And then they dismantle Alabama in Pasadena. Then they do what they did Friday. This ain't these aren't one-offs. No. This is who they are.
This is like T2 from Terminator.
Yeah.
They
just keep coming at you.
I mean, and they have this chip on their shoulder, like the size of the state.
Yeah.
To prove everybody wrong too. So they got that too.
I love the story. I love the story. Either story will be good, but I love it. And by the way, how about the secondary fact that Mario Cristobal and Fernando Mendoza's dad, who's also Fernando, like Big Fernando, were offensive linemen together in high school in Miami.
How funny is that?
How crazy is that, Terry?
It's insane.
That's insane, man. I'm like, wait a minute, what? Like, I had no idea until Friday night. I was like, you played on the same offensive line at the same high school in the 80s?
I was like you.
That's crazy.
I heard that story before the game. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. That's just crazy.
Crazy, man.
All right, well,
so, I mean, the small world aspect of this is also another just neat little twist to it. But
absolutely.
The Indiana story is fun to watch, man.
All right, come back, do some Jay Renee. We're going to bring up a lot of Jay's favorite athletes. That's next here on the Postgame Show. All right, time to get some Jay or Nay in here. We'll start off with a couple of Jay's favorite sports figures, but first I got to get the right music for it. Yeah. There we go. Woo! All right, we'll start off.
I'm excited about this because I don't know where we're going. So
we'll start with a couple of Jay's favorite sports figures. Over the weekend, Alex Bregman, former Houston Astro, former Boston Red Sox, signed a 5-year, $175 million deal with the Chicago Cubs. Jay is so bummed that Alex Bregman didn't sign with the Atlanta Braves. Jay or nay?
Oh, nay. And sorry, Cub fans, you're gonna get 2 of 5 good years out of that, and the rest of that $100 million that you spend will be, filled with him getting ejected, tossing his bat, yelling at everybody. I'm not a Bregman fan. Sorry.
You know what? You hide it well.
Not a Bregman fan. he's look. I just think I think he's kind of overrated. And at this point in his career, to give him that much money, I mean, the Cubs I know they got to spend a lot because they need somebody good, Terry. But that to me, to guarantee him that much money at this point, you're not going to get that out of him, in my opinion.
Well, you know what's really interesting?
And again, he's kind of a tool. And by kinda,
I think he's more than kinda. But anyway,
yeah, by kinda, I'm being kind by saying kinda.
He's that guy. If he's on your team, you love his fire. But if he's on the other team, he's a tool. That's just who he is. I'll say this about Bregman.
I imagine a lot of guys on his team get tired of him too, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that could happen too. Here's the thing. For some reason, all of his offensive numbers started to drop. I wonder why.
I mean, because he's getting old. And
well,
he's
you know
not
why?
That, I mean,
because he couldn't use the trash cans anymore.
Well, yeah, and you can't go bang, 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 bang.
Exactly.
Yeah, no.
He couldn't use the trash cans anymore.
He's a good fielder. He's not. I don't think he's elite. He's good.
Yeah.
But anyway, so have fun, Cub fans.
He's the kind of guy. He's perfect for a young team that you need somebody to be that leader that's one that doesn't mind being the quote unquote tool.
Yeah.
He's perfect for a team like that, but he does wear himself on his teammates after a while.
That's a lot. That's a long contract and a lot of money for a team that could probably spend it better on, I don't know, starting pitching.
Ready?
Just
Jay or nay?
Yes.
Brooks Koepka coming back to the PGA Tour. The next thing through Jay Phillips' mind, gosh, I can't wait till Patrick Reed comes back. Jay or nay?
Oh, no. Well, okay. If the question is can't wait till Patrick Reed comes back, then nay. Hopefully that never happens. But, I know Patrick has to always play in the Masters. No, I'm for Brooks coming back. I think he is one like John Rahm that I've told you, I'm not the biggest fan of. I love John Rahm. I do. But Brooks, look, he's not Bryson or some of these guys that have just, or Phil that want to just go scorched earth on everybody. They offered him a lot of money, and he took it. And as a capitalist, it's hard to blame someone for doing that, even when you look at the ramifications of it. But he said the right things today. He is going to pay a pretty heavy financial penalty. Some of the details are out there in terms of what he can't win this year. Like, he can't, even if he were to finish first, Terry, he can't win the bonus as a FedEx Cup champion this year. He's also agreed to give $5 million to PGA charities this year as a sort of an offering, if you will, a peace offering to everybody. But I think it's good for golf. Look, the Live Tour isn't working, and I don't care how much you love it or not. And I know what kind of golf fan I am. It's not working, Terry. It's not working. So for him to come back and be where he needs to be to boost his world ranking, especially in his mid-30s now where it gets a little harder, is the right thing to do. And I do hope some of these other guys, again, Cam Smith, John Rahm, Bryson DeChambeau, have a very limited, like 3-week limited opportunity to also come back under these terms. I'll be curious to see if they do.
All right, finally, if you got stuck in a jammed elevator, this isn't a Jay or nay, this is a multiple choice. Would you rather be with Alex Bregman or Patrick Reed?
Oh, God. Alex Bregman. Alex Bregman. Yeah. Alex Bregman for sure.
My favorite part of that answer was, oh, God.
I've just never. That's a question posed to me that's never been posed before, nor has my brain ever processed it. No, Bregman for sure. Because at least with Bregman, I could talk about baseball things and carry on a meaningful conversation. But you know what? They both cheated.
There you go.
So, but yeah, Bregman. There's nobody worse than Patrick Reed, man. Seriously, I just can't think of anybody. So, but that's just me as a sports fan.
That's okay.
Right.
I don't like guys, Jay or nay.
How'd I do?
You did great. Fantastic.
Thank you.
All right. A couple of we'll get back to the South Carolina Gamecock transfer portal news of the weekend, and 2 quarterbacks have announced where they're going to play going through the portal. That's next here on the Postgame Show.
The clock. Williams. And it's caught for the touchdown by DJ Moore. Forget about the clock. Just take the lead when you can.
A weekend of very, very close NFL playoff games. There was the go-ahead touchdown for the Bears. Caleb Williams and DJ Moore. Chicago comes back down big at the half to Green Bay to beat the Packers at Soldier Field to move forward. Close games in Jacksonville with Jacksonville and Buffalo. Obviously, the Rams and the Panthers. We had a close one with Philly and San Francisco. The only blowout so far was that snoozer with New England and L.A. There, Jay Phillips.
Yeah, and I guess the Pats will get tonight's winner. My Denver Broncos will host Buffalo next week, and then we know the Rams go to Chicago, and the Niners are going to Seattle for a third game of the season between those two. Each of them won in the other's building. So, but at very different times, Terry. Seattle hosted San Francisco to open the season, and the Niners won, and then they closed the season in Santa Clara, and obviously the Seahawks won that one. So, you know, I don't know how much we take. I think we probably take more from Seattle beating San Francisco late in the year than the other. Because
that game was obviously for the number one seed in the NFC West. I just say this about Seattle, and I know. Yeah, look, I hope I'm wrong because again, I got nothing against Sam Darnold. Seems like a nice guy. Seems like a dude you want to let you buy you beer because he's rich and we're not. I just think sooner or later, just like last year, he's going to become the Jets Sam Darnold again, just like he did the end of last year.
Well, I forgot to look it up, and I apologize because I told you I was going to, and I got busy doing other things, including taking a nap. But I did see, and I'll find it for us, Sam Darnold is the first quarterback to lead to have the what was it, Terry? Okay, the first quarterback since 1978 to have the most turnovers on a number one seed in the NFL playoffs. So it's been since 1978 that quarterback has had that many. He has 20 turnovers this year. It's 14 picks and 6 fumbles lost. So he is absolutely turnover prone. That will not be, that will not be lost on the Niner defense, which is very good, despite missing some pieces. So I think the Niners can go win again, man, and they won't be intimidated by the building or anything like that. Nothing to worry about there. So, hey, real quick, speaking of the building, I want to branch off, staying in sports. But did you see this Utah State Boise State story?
No, what is it?
Okay. So I got to tell everybody this because this is classic college stuff here. So a few days ago, Boise State announced on their Twitter feed. I'm going to read it to you. Any, in all caps, any and all caps, students, and then in parentheses they put college, high school, middle school, elementary school, get a free ticket in the Corral student section with a valid student ID as Boise State hosted Utah State. So a whole mess of Utah State students decided to pony up and get some transportation to Boise. Well, they were basically told that, you don't count. And that wasn't cool, right? So they had already raised like $1,200 for transportation costs. So then Utah State's basketball staff donated $1,000 for them to buy some tickets. They went up there, and long story short, they beat the you-know-what out of them, man. But so I was, exactly – I mean, look, I know why Boise pulled the rug out from under them, but it's not cool because you did say very publicly any and all students.
Yep. You didn't specify where the students had to be from.
Yeah.
No, you did not.
But they got well over $1,000 to travel. Then they got more to buy tickets. They still went up there. They bought the tickets.
That's phenomenal. And, that's good stuff right there.
They ended up beating the. Let me get the final score for you again. Hang on a second. I'll get the final. But it was It was 93-68 was the final in Boise.
Okay, the Utah State basketball fan base is something else. They really are. They're very underrated. That Aggie fan base.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
so
they are. I love it.
Good
I think it's hilarious.
Good story.
It's
and
a good story.
Boise, hopefully you learned your lesson. Don't do that to people.
Exactly.
Not cool.
Not good.
Cool.
They even have their own website, by the way. Utah State University Fans.com. They're a thing.
And they have some fan base called the Herd with a U. Anyway, I saw that this morning and I was like,
that's cool.
Man, that's not cool, but that's very cool all at once. Like, you can't. And I saw the tweet, so I was like, all right, are there any parameters they put on this? Nope. It said any and all students.
And that's look.
I haven't seen any statements from Boise, by the way, that say, "Well, you know what we meant." It's like, nah,
no, you didn't.
I don't think so, man.
You didn't say what you meant. But yeah, Utah State, they do some cool stuff during games to try to screw with opposing teams and stuff. That's a very underrated fan base. So that's awesome. I love the fact they took advantage of that. That's good. That's good. Very nice.
And you go up there and win by 25 points.
I know, and you smack them. Very nice. All right, so real quick, speaking of the world of college athletics outside of here, Dylan Raiola will be joining Oregon as the Ducks await what their current starting quarterback will be doing regarding the NFL draft. Will Dante Moore stay or go? There's talk on both sides.
I can't imagine Dante Moore staying when you are basically already told that if you aren't the first pick, you'll be the second pick.
See, again, if you're going to go in the top 5 or top 10, my feeling is you got to go. You just got to go.
Yeah.
And look,
I can't possibly imagine that he's going to come back. Here's the thing, without me saying anything right now, and I don't want to give too much away. How should I feel about this if I'm Oregon and Dylan Raiola is coming to me? How should I feel about this, Terry?
About Dylan Raiola?
Yeah.
Well, here's my thing. First of all, stop the Patrick Mahomes thing. It's a little creepy. Enough of that. But I think Dylan Raiola, here's the thing. He's got tons of talent. And maybe the best thing is get the hell out of Nebraska and get away from your family and all that other ridiculousness that was going on. And now you go to a real culture that's built on winning. It's been winning for a long time. That will not put up with any nonsense. Because I'm sure, look, if I'm Dan Lanning, I'm going to say this to him. Okay, let's talk about your year at Nebraska, your 2 years at Nebraska. Let's have a little conversation about some of the stuff that I'm hearing or seeing. Because I'm not bringing him with all the other crap, right? Correct?
Yeah, I'm with you. And look, I know Bo Nix had a great reclamation project out there.
And that's what I was getting ready to say.
Dante Moore technically has as well. So, regardless of who's coaching, it seems like, at least, by that I mean positional coaching, not Dan Lanning. It seems to have worked. So I'm with you there, but I don't know. I this time around, man, I wonder how much is in Dylan Raiola's head. I don't know how good he is. I don't know. I don't know that I'm like, if I'm an Oregon fan, I'm not going, all right, from Bo Nix to Dante Moore to Dylan Raiola. I'm not sure I'm super enthused about this, but maybe that's just me.
Everyone says how skilled he is and how much talent he has, how much arm talent. Now, he's not the most mobile cat in the world. And if you think about it, Dante Moore was mobile. Dylan Gabriel could move a bit. Bo Nix could move. So if you're bringing Raiola can't move around like these guys. So how is he going to fit that offense? Remember, you're losing your offensive coordinator who's going to be the head coach of Kentucky.
Yeah.
So, I mean, my biggest thing with Raiola isn't so much what he does on the field to fix. He's a talented guy from all accounts. It's all this other off-the-field stuff that you've heard, especially with the family and the dynamic in Nebraska and all these things. Because remember, what did Matt Rule do? Fired the family, right?
Yep.
So, again, how much of that is
a legacy family to boot? Don't forget that. A legacy family.
So how much of this is just Matt Rule said, I'm tired of all of you. including you, quarterback. Go transfer wherever the hell you want to. I don't care. How much of this, and if I'm Dan Lanning, I'm having this conversation before I offer him. You know what I mean? I don't want that stuff. I don't need it. I'm Oregon. I can go get a quarterback that won't bring me baggage. Just saying. So you got to have a come to Jesus with this guy.
I mean, clearly Dan Lanning is going to have done enough, research to make this decision and think that this is the guy. I'll be curious if they bring anybody else in.
Yeah.
Because they can, but again, coming back around to it, in fact, I was somewhat surprised this morning when I not just the Dylan Raiola part, but he'll sit behind Dante Moore should Moore choose to return. Now, the only reason Moore would choose to return, in my opinion, is because he doesn't want to go to the Raiders or the Jets.
I was getting ready to say, if the Jets call him and say, hey,
but here's the thing, man, you're gonna, you know what, next year, okay, the Raiders might get better because the Raiders are going to get Mendoza. The Raiders have Ginty. The Raiders have Brock Bowers. The Raiders have some pieces, actually. If they get the right coach, they can at least, not be in the top 5 of the draft next year. I don't know how great they are overall, and they play in a pretty loaded division these days. But the NFL is such that you can climb out of that hole pretty quickly. That said, there's zero reason to believe the Jets will be anything other than the top 5.
The Jets are the Jets
team next year.
You can pencil the Jets in the top 5 of the draft every year.
So so at some point you just got to take the Jets' money from them,
exactly.
and then try to go be Sam Darnold or whomever else.
And the only other reason he might come back is he's only had 17 career starts.
Right.
And maybe again we talk about this. One of the things that can kill you, and one of the buckets of failure in the NFL is lack of starts in college. If he feels like he's not ready, but I'll say this, Jay. I mean, let's just be honest here. I mean, if you're Dylan Raiola, why would you go to Oregon if you really don't know if Dante Moore's leaving or not? Right? You would think.
Yeah, that's a fair question. I suppose some of it is money. I don't know what they're going to pay him.
And that's the other thing, right? I know Oregon prints their own money with Phil Knight's face on it, but that's a lot of money to give a dude to sit around and watch and learn for a year.
I agree.
So,
but I just, again, if I'm – well, I don't know. It's easy for me to say, and it's easy for you to say, or anybody else out there. But Dante Moore, you're virtual unless something goes horribly wrong in your interviews, as you like to say. Just if something goes horribly wrong away from the sport you actually play, at worst you're going to be a top 3 pick in the draft.
Yeah,
and that's going to be generationally life-changing money.
Yeah, you look. Last time I checked, they still hit you in the NFL, in college, right? They still hit quarterbacks.
They do.
Still a collision sport?
It is.
If you're a top 5 pick, you got to go.
Yeah.
I mean, and look, whether you're ready or not is almost like inconsequential. It's like you're going to be a top 5 pick. You take it, you go, you get picked in the top 5, you cash that check, and then you better start working to get your butt ready for when it's your time. And you're going to go to a bad organization, and they're going to try to do everything they can to screw you up, but just look at your bank balance every day when you crawl back to the locker.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
That's kind of where it's at. You got to go if you're going to be top 5. You just got to go.
I agree.
Got to go. I got to put Dylan Raiola in the next J or Nay along with Patrick Reed and
he's not that. I don't know enough about him, but I mean, that's nothing about him has impressed me, but nothing about what Matt Rule's done at Nebraska has been impressive.
Well, that's the thing too. I guess to me, before we get to the break, I guess I look at the idea: how much of this is Dylan Raiola is just one of these kids that was overstarred coming out of high school? Or how much of this is he shows up in Nebraska, he's the savior, legacy family's on the coaching staff, blah, blah, blah. How much did he walk around there like, I'm the savior of Nebraska football, my family's here? How much of it was just, again, remember, he's 18, 19 years old.
Yep.
And can you get him away from there? And like Bo Nix, once Bo Nix got out of that pressure cooker on the Plains, look how much he blossomed at Oregon. Could this kid be like that too? I don't know. But we'll see, right?
Now Bo Nix is hosting a playoff game.
Look at that guy in place for your Denver Broncos. You staying for another one? You going to be here for another one?
Yeah, I got you one more.
All right, my man. Looking forward to it. We'll come back. Let's go back. Look a little bit more at South Carolina right now as they've added bazillions of people in the portal on the postgame show. And we always talk about how experience matters. We talk about it with Indiana football, South Carolina in 2024. Experience matters. Also matters if you want to do stuff to the home, like, get new appliances, lighting, fixtures, plumbing. Maybe do some cool stuff to the bathroom, like put in a tub. Experts, experience matters. People who know what they're doing. People you have confidence in that when you go and bring them in to do the job, they're going to walk you through it, give you advice, give you counsel and guidance, and then, by the way, do a bleeping great job for you and make you happy at a price that makes your wallet happy. Call Kreger Showrooms, 803-978-2025, 100 years of experience. Again, Kreger Showrooms, 803-978-2025. They will do everything you need to your home that you're looking for in your budget to your happiness. Again, Kreger Showrooms in the Vista. All right, rolling the post-game show. Our buddy Jay Phillips hanging out with us, Terry Ford, as we roll this baby till 6. Well, you roll this baby till 4:30, and I'll take it to 6. Is that fair?
That'll work for me. Yep, that'll work for me. And,
now, do you have the sleepy clothes on already?
Yes. Yes.
So as soon as we go to break,
I am wearing. Apparently, I'm wearing what my children say is a very nice pair of sweatpants.
Nice, very nice. All right, real quick. All right, so South
Usually
Carolina,
I'm wearing jeans, but today
sweatpants.
I am wearing.
What flavor? What flavor of sweatpants do we have on?
They are gray. They are dark gray.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now they're the kind
not traditional, not the traditional gray. It's more of a solid gray.
Are they
fabric.
like the track sweats, or like those sweatpants they gave us in gym class that came like barely went over our knees?
No, these go all the way down, and they don't have the elastic stuff on the ankle, so they're more like a straight leg.
Yeah,
but it's they're nice, they're comfortable.
Styling.
Yeah, I until this happened to me, I was never someone who actually would even want to sit around the house wearing anything other than actual pants or jeans or shorts. So I don't know what that says, but hey.
So that means when you finally get back in studio with us, you're going to be walking around here in like sweatpants and like hoodies?
Not ruling it out. Not ruling it out, man. You know?
Oh, man. All right, real quick.
That's all I'll say.
All right, 17 commitments for South Carolina through the portal.
Yep.
I think it's 6 offensive linemen so far, a couple of wide receivers, a couple running backs. They fortified the defensive front on the interior with a couple of additions. Also, an edge, one other guy that can play multiple positions on the defensive line. You do have a corner. No safeties yet. No tight ends yet. Where would you like to see them go still? I mean, 17's a good haul so far. Where do you want to see them still add?
Yeah, considering they added 15 through high school recruiting. I mean, that's 30-some newcomers. Now, listen, you've also lost, and I know Wes has the number.
Yeah, let me see here. I think it's 17, 16.
16 as of today. Yeah, 16. Actually, it might be 17 now. Now that you say that, because I want to say.
Did they add Shivers on this list?
No, Shivers isn't on this list. So you're right. So I mean, basically now you're kind of. You're at 50-50 when it comes to departures and
in case you're listening and you didn't know, Jatavius Shivers did hit the portal as well, the offensive line. So
yeah, and good luck to him. He didn't play much here, and I think maybe too there was some writing on the wall there.
Absolutely.
Now they've spread things around, Terry, and that's good. You're right, 6 offensive linemen. I got, 3 on the D-line right now, 2 tailback. Well, actually 4 on the D-line if you count a couple of edges. Again, a couple of these guys are more versatile. 3 wide receivers. Again, 2 tailbacks. You got a new place kicker. You got a new long snapper. So you're filling your needs. I'm going to let offensive line speak for itself and sort of put it to the side. I would like to see, and I hope that with these 2 young men that they're adding out of the Big Ten, one from Ohio State, one from Penn State at tailback, that they're going to improve the running back room because they've got to get better at running the football and taking some of the pressure off Lenoris. Again, how much Lenoris runs next year on purpose is going to be interesting in terms of how Kendall wants to utilize him. So I'm looking forward to that. But you still, no matter what, you got to run the football better than you did last year, which is not hard at all to say or fathom for Carolina fans. So I'd say running back, again, beyond the obvious of the offensive line. And you always want to be good up front on defense. And I think Carolina was good up front on defense last year. And I think they'll be good on up front on defense again this year. So they've added some nice pieces up there. You want to get better everywhere. But to me, again, offensive line notwithstanding, I really want to see them give those offensive linemen some guys to better protect. You know what Lenoris is about, but I want to see some good tailbacks. So I hope these 2 kids that they're coming in, Jabri Wallace from Penn State and Sam Williams-Dixon from Ohio State, can provide a nice little 1-2 to go with the guys that are already here.
I'd like to see him get another DB. I love Rashid Scott from Kentucky, but remember, you're losing Kilgore and Cisse to the NFL draft. DQ Smith's eligibility is out. You've also lost a little depth through the portal as well when you lost Norwood left in the portal. I'd like to see him get another DB or 2. That's mine. I like Scott. Add maybe 1 or 2 more defensive backs to go with Scott. I think that's an area I'd love to see him improve on.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. And they didn't, you're right. They're losing more because of eligibility expiration than anything through the portal. And Norwood, I don't know what his role was going to be next year.
Honestly, he was disappointing this past year. I thought he was going to be a tick or two better. He had some issues. He really had some trouble. He struggled. So he's another guy that probably saw the writing on the wall, so to speak.
I think so.
Yeah. So
seems that way.
Post-game show. Jay Phillips, Terry Ford. Before you go, I know we discussed a little Trinidad Chambliss. You and I have not had a chance to really dig into the conversation. Chambliss, Ole Miss quarterback, phenomenal season, was denied his waiver by the NCAA for a 6th year. He is going to now go through the impartial court system in what state, Jay?
Yeah, in Mississippi. Yeah, this story, I don't look. I like this kid. I love his story. I love what he did last year. I think look, we talked about this on Friday after his denial. The NCAA, in what in my opinion is a rarity, gave a very detailed explanation as to why his waiver was denied. And they don't typically go that in depth. So that they did, I thought, was telling. And in so many words, if you didn't see it, they basically said, look, you claimed that you had some real medical limitations during one of your redshirt years in D2 at Ferris State. And yet the documentation you provided and the school provided shows a different story. So we're going to deny you. If you have more, provide it. His attorney says they're gonna, but now they're going to sue. And by the way, the attorney they've hired in state is the guy who runs the Grove Collective. So, no conflict of interest there.
No,
and they'll go find a friendly judge somewhere in northern Mississippi to hear this case. I hope a judge can look at this and go, well, son, because they're going to claim some type of contract interference. And contracts, from what I understand, I'm not a lawyer, but typically contract law is handled state by state. This is not a federal case, so that's why it's going to be heard in state court. And they're going to basically say, but he's already signed a contract to get paid next year. I would hope that a judge would look at that and go, well, you signed a contract knowing that your eligibility was expired and that you had already been turned down once, and now you filed your suit after your waiver was denied. So what exactly do you want me to do here other than say you signed a contract? I have no idea what a judge is going to say. Mm-hmm. Basically, I think, Terry, and I've read this in a couple of stories, and I agree with it. This really isn't so much about a verdict in this case. This is about seeking an injunction to get this thing put on hold while, quote, evidence is gathered, and they go through discovery and all the other processes that cases go through in the hopes that it'll take, 10, 12 months.
Yeah.
And that Trinidad Chambliss plays next season under the terms of the contract. But I don't like this. I think this is definitely gaming the system.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I think the NCAA gave a legit reason, and I think it's
and you know what? They should be more,
as much as I like the kids, I don't like this one.
They should be more transparent like this, Jay. It was I almost took a double take because they were so detailed. Here's my thing.
Yeah.
First of all, we learned this last week. Judges get elected in the state of Mississippi. If you want to keep getting elected, you're going to go with Trinidad Chambliss' story, right? Or at least help him out in some way, shape, or form.
Probably, and I hope not. I don't want to be too cynical, but it's hard.
Oh, I'm cynical,
and I know I am too in this because it's. And for his attorney, Tom Marge, to say, well, we're going to get a level playing field. No, bro, no, that's not what this is at all.
No,
they know the eligibility is expired. They know why. They provided the documentation. Chambliss is, and I don't want to turn his kid into a bad guy.
No. He's trying to do what a lot of them try to do, Jay. That's all he's trying to know your year of eligibility. That's all.
Yeah, and look, I still think he'll be drafted. He won't be a first-round pick. But he does have an opportunity at the next level. But again, they know they signed this contract with his eligibility expired and his waiver denied.
Sure.
So, and at some point we still, for all the people that, well, we got to have rules. College football is broken. Blah blah blah. Well, here's a case where it's pretty cut and dried, and yet they're gonna try to go run an end around, if you will, anyway. So, I like this kid. I love his story. I don't like how he and Mississippi are handling this specific case this time.
All right, man. You and your fancy sweats. Go take a nap. We'll talk to you.
Yeah, we'll do. And again, I won't see you tomorrow.
Nope.
I got one more trip up to Duke. It's my last official treatment. Chemo is done. This is a follow-up treatment, so not chemotherapy. And we're getting closer. Fingers crossed. Feeling good. Thanks for all the support. But I'll see you back here on Wednesday.
We'll talk to you on Wednesday, man. We're thinking about you, okay?
We'll
see you, buddy. All right. Post-game show, we'll come back. And we'll take a little bit more of a gander at what happened in the NFL over the weekend. And men's basketball, rough Saturday at CLA. We'll get into that next on the post-game show. Oh, our first check on the roads. We have some slow traffic, I-26 westbound between Sunset Boulevard and St. Andrews Road, like always. Also on St. Andrews Road, we have an accident, Jamil Road near St. Andrews. Also an accident, Broad River Road near Beatty Road. And our typical road construction that drives you insane. We'll come back, talk some men's basketball, rough last 8 minutes at CLA on Saturday. South Carolina couldn't hold an 8-point lead and took an L at home to Georgia. We'll get into that next here on the postgame show on the game. All right, it's CLA on Saturday. Tough road for South Carolina men's basketball team. Up 8 with about, 8 minutes left, roughly. Went cold, really cold most of the second half, but really went cold down the stretch, and they lose to Georgia 75-70 in what was a very winnable basketball game. Here's Lamont Paris talking about that tough loss.
All right. Tough loss there against a really good team, athletic team. Team plays hard. They're well coached. They got a really good coach. I respect what Mike White does in this league as much or more than anybody. He's a veteran. So I thought our effort was really good. I thought our defensive effort in particular was really good. There's a lot of things that have to happen in order to win a game, particularly against a really talented team. And one of those happened. We defended at a high enough level. I mean, there were some mistakes and some fat you can trim off of that for sure, but you know, this is not a game of perfection. I thought we did a pretty good job defensively overall. You're holding a team like that 23 points under their average of what they were averaging when they came into the game. And you know, they've been over 100 so many times that's just what they do. So I thought execution of our strategy defensively was good. I thought, honestly, we had a bunch of looks down the stretch that, and throughout the game, you know, we could have played better offensively, performed better, I should say. The way we played, I thought, was pretty good overall offensively. We just had a couple guys didn't perform the way that we needed to, and then there's this equation that's of, if this thing's good this day, this thing's got to be, or bad this day, this thing's got to be good this day. And today was probably a day we needed to make all our free throws. We've been a good free throw shooting team. It just wasn't that day for that. So. You know, I liked some of the things that I saw with our team, particularly on the defensive end. Just as frustrating to not, when you put yourself in position to win, to not win.
It's just frustrating. It's a frustrating loss. If you're Lamont Paris, if you're the players, if you're a fan, if you're cocky, I mean, it's a game that you should have won. You just should have. You had a lead, a good amount of this game. Again, you led, 8 minutes left. You were up by 8. You were on an 8-0 run, and all of a sudden you go up a 9-0 run. And then you just couldn't make shots down the stretch. Mike Sharmjans was 6-9 from the floor. South Carolina shot 41% as a team. Take away Sharmjans, 6 of 9, it's 36%. No one else on this basketball team who took more than 5 shots, besides Mongolian Mike, made at least 50% of their field goal attempts. Again, started off, a 40-point first half is good. But South Carolina, just like the LSU game, which South Carolina won, Gamecocks only had 30 points in the second half. Got outscored 41-30. And you look at down the stretch, it's just tough to win basketball games when you can't make shots. I mean, you're sitting at the 8-minute mark, roughly, 8:18, I think it was? Yeah, Eli Ellis made a layup at the 8:18 mark at 62-54. South Carolina was stuck on 62 until you got under 6 minutes. There's almost a little bit under 6 minutes left. till you finally. Well, it was about 5:42 left when you finally made another bucket. So you almost went 3 minutes without scoring. Then after you got the deuce, you didn't score again. And I'm going scrolling down to make sure I get it exactly right. Until Sharma made a free throw with 26 seconds left. A 5-minute scoring drought. Scored 4 points almost in an 8-minute span. Obviously, it doesn't take a genius to figure out you can't win basketball games like that. And again, this team, much better scoring in the first half than the second half, just like LSU when they put up that 50-burger on the Tigers in Baton Rouge. But 2 second halves in a row where the offensive efficiency, gone. Just gone. And look, part of this is you don't have a consistent point guard. You just don't. You have guys you can run the offense through at times, like Sharvajamps. Again, Lamont brought Michi Johnson back with the idea he could run the point or at least be part of a rotation to run the point. And look, again, not trying to be mean, not second guessing. We questioned it before the season started. Who's going to play the point? Are you going to give the keys to Michi, who can be good Michi or bad Michi? You're going to give the keys to a freshman in Eli Ellis, who is known more for making buckets than making dishes and dimes. And then you can run the offense through Sharvajamps, but not consistently. He's never been a point guard. So this thing, without having a true run the offense, steer the ship and be the captain point guard, I think this is part of the problem as well. There's times that the ball gets stuck or the movement gets stuck. There's not a flow. There's not someone in charge of the offense, getting guys in the right position to score. I think that's a huge issue here. And this team is just not making open shots consistently at all. Again, 2 straight games, excellent in the first half, and the opposite of excellent in the second half. It's just been tough. All right, here's Lamont Paris, another post-game comment. Why they couldn't close out the game with an 8-point lead with 8:18 to go.
Yeah. I'll have to watch it to see what some of the specific things we did defensively were, but just things I know off the top of our head. So if I look at this stretch, and I remember, these are things that I remember specifically, not to call anyone out, but these are just plays that I remember. I know Michi got a wide open 3. Elijah had an open 3. Elijah passed up an open 3 and then threw to Michi for an open 3. Miles had an open 3 in the corner. Kobe was at the basket and we threw like a little lob to him and he caught it and missed it right at the rim. We ran a hammer play to Miles in the corner for a wide open 3. Even down to Mike's layup at the very end that we missed. There just were, we got none of those to happen.
Couldn't get the ball in the basket. And some of those looks were open, just couldn't make them. That's frustrating. Absolutely. And Elijah Strong, who went crazy against LSU, scoring 30, the game of his life, took 10 shots to score 9 points, 4-10, missed both of his threes, and was in foul trouble. And by the way, got as many rebounds as me. The interior of this basketball team, again, was a problem. Just was. It's a tough loss in the game that you really could have won. All right, we will open the vault up next here on the postgame show. Terry Ford, appreciate you hanging out with us. We go till 6 on the game. Let's crack open the vault. Before we do that, busy week for South Carolina sports. Wednesday, men's basketball in Fayetteville taking on Arkansas, who lost over the weekend. 8:30 pregame, 9 o'clock tip. Right here on 107.5 The Game in Columbia and our affiliate 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. Thursday, Carolina calls right here on 107.5 The Game and 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. 6:30 pregame, 7 o'clock tip. Again, Thursday night basketball. South Carolina's women taking on Texas, and Thursday night basketball pretty much always in our sister station, B1067. That's what's going on this week. Wednesday, the men play. Thursday, the women play on B106, and we have Carolina calls here on The Game. All right, so here we go. Checking out, opening up, cracking open the vault. A lot of like Super Bowl, obviously, championship game kind of stuff in the NFL to go over. But 1958, you're going to love this. The NCAA Rules Committee makes the first change in the football scoring rule since 1912. You know what they added? 2-point conversion. This day in 1958. Also this day in 1969, New York Jet quarterback Joe Namath guarantees a victory before Super Bowl III against 17-point favorite the Baltimore Colts. The Jets did win that game, and my father, Dean Ford, went to his grave saying that game was fixed. There are a lot of people of my dad's generation who believe that game was fixed. I don't, but couldn't tell my dad different. He said there looking at me going, yes, you know, smoke in one hand, coffee in the other. I'd say, Dad, that game wasn't fixed. Come on, there's no way that many people can keep a secret. Boy, don't you have something to go do? Well, I'll sit here and take you out of the will, and that way you ain't going to get the lawn ornaments. Anyway, that was 1969. 1975, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they take out the Minnesota Vikings 16-6. Franco Harris ran for 158 yards. At that point, his Super Bowl rushing record. And the Vikings, remember, the Vikings went to the Super Bowl 4 times. Late 60s and then in the 70s. Didn't win a Super Bowl. And there's some good Viking teams too, man. This is just whacked. On this day in 1991, Princeton beats Cornell in a swimming meet. But get this. The schools agreed to compete by telephone due to a blizzard. They couldn't get to, the transportation was a big problem in Ithaca, New York. So both teams swim in their own pools and then exchange results by fax. And they were all truthful. Nobody made anything up, right? Sure, nobody would ever cheat or embellish times. We did have a college football playoff game in 2015. Ohio State and Oregon in the first college football playoff game. And you might remember this run.
Elliott breaks free. Ezekiel Elliott gets a block and busts to the end zone.
Ezekiel Elliott went crazy, 246 yards rushing, 4 touchdowns. Oregon scored first in this game, and then Ohio State ran the Ducks over 42-20. Sort of like how they got ran over by Indiana. But anyway, that was on this day in 2015. One piece of entertainment news real quick. On this day in 1966, this TV series premiered.
Hey, it's the Batmobile. Just look.
I am looking. And isn't Robin too much?
Yep. TV series Batman and Robin. This day in 1966. I remember being a little kid and it was on like reruns all the time. And it was so cheesy, but it was like good cheesy. Remember like when they punch people and get the little biff, bam, bam, pop, pop. And they're in those tights. And they really, neither one of them should have been wearing the tights. But anyway, this day in 1966. Batman and Robin debuted, the TV series. Adam West. It was ABC where it debuted. All right, there's your vault. Your little stuff going on in the sports world and also in the entertainment world. All right, 5 o'clock news is coming up by our buds from Integrated Media. We'll check that out. Also, Gamecock Notebook in the 5 o'clock hour and the drive around the SEC. So a big 5 o'clock hour here from Dawn Staley in the Gamecock Notebook. The women, they had a rock fight. They survived against Georgia at CLA on Sunday. Up next, Texas, who was upset by LSU over the weekend. That game is Thursday night at CLA. So we got all that coming in the 5 o'clock hour here on the postgame show. Terry Ford, appreciate you hanging out with us. 803-404-6100 Firehouse sub text line, AAA Heating and Air phone line. We roll till 6 here on the game. And don't forget Carolina calls tonight with Dawn Staley. Don't forget about that. CHW Cabinetry in Lexington, Star and her crew, fine quality work. We talk about this like always. They not only do the best quality work you can find in the Midlands, but also the customer service is top notch. They're there for you from beginning to end with photorealistic renderings to let you know how the job is going. They will make sure it is done in your budget and to your specification and happiness. Just call CHW Cabinetry, 803-520-6837. Again, 803-520-6837. Give them a call. Go sit down with them. Hang out. They're fun people. They're a good time. They'll talk to you, see what you want to do, how much money you can spend, your goals, and they will make it happen for you. And again, step by step with the photorealistic renderings and the best customer service in the Midlands. 803-520-6837, CHW Cabinetry. All right, a trek on traffic, or a check on traffic if you want to say it right. We have a few accidents. Duke Avenue between Dundee Lane and Monticello Road. Also, Park Street near Laurel in downtown Columbia. Broad River Road near Beatty Road as well. And, of course, again, the typical road construction. I-126 between Hugie and I-26. I-26 between Bush River Road and Old Sandy Run Road. I-20 between exit 64 and 65 Broad River Road. I-20 between Sunset Boulevard and Bush River Road. 5 o'clock news coming up, sponsored by our buds at Integrated Media. That is next here on the postgame show. Again tonight, special Carolina calls with Dawn Staley. Again, that is 7 o'clock tonight right here on the game in Columbia, Myrtle Beach. Five o'clock news sponsored by our buds Integrated Media here on the postgame show. Terry Ford, appreciate you hanging out. No one knew through the portal yet today for South Carolina. A busy weekend. 17 players now have committed to South Carolina. The big get, Jacarius Peak, the top offensive tackle in the portal by some services, and one of the top players in the portal, period, from NC State, leading the way. But again, some interesting pieces coming in through over the weekend. The Collins brothers, Kelby Collins, played at Alabama. Also Drew Collins, the edge from Arkansas State. Also, and I know I'm going to screw the name up, Tamiwa Durajayi, defensive lineman from Illinois who had a really nice season last year, both stopping the run and rushing the quarterback. Emmanuel Koko Poku came in, I believe, on Friday, another offensive lineman who was all-conference. Just a lot of really good pieces for South Carolina to put together through the portal. Again, not a ton of wow superstars like Indiana's pulled. But look, when you are 4-8, yeah, you want to get the best you can get. But you also have to get depth and numbers, and you have to add leadership and some maturity and all these other things that, we talked with Shane Beamer about, Jay and I, around Christmas, and Shane has talked about in press conferences. So you had to go and spread out your dollars because you needed numbers. And this team has brought in 6 offensive linemen. Shed Surratt is still on the team. Also, Darius Gray, the freshman. People think Gray could start possibly or have a chance to win a gig. But you have, I believe, 3 offensive tackles, 3 interior linemen. One of them is a center in Carter Miller. And, look, this offense is going to play fast. These offensive linemen, they can play fast. That's what you're looking for. And it's a specific type of offensive lineman to block in this offense, the Kendall Browse offense. Yes, you have to get a bunch of people who have never played together to be able to play together. That's just reality. But 6 offensive linemen through the portal. Again, we talked about some of the defensive help brought in. Really like Quashad Scott, the defensive back from Kentucky. Jordan Thomas, defensive lineman from Georgia, is very interesting. Upside, high potential, high ceiling. Just got to get reps. But nothing yet today. And the visits, the last visit, let's see, Drew Collins, Kelby Collins, and Jabri Wallace-Coleman, the running back from Penn State, and Seth Smith, all basically they committed yesterday. No visits do I see right now. We'll keep refreshing and see if we can update it for you. South Carolina's women moves up to the number 2 spot in the top 25. Texas lost. They drop out of the 2 holes. South Carolina moves up. UConn's number 1. UCLA is now number 3. And when you look at the net rankings, the 17-1 Gamecocks are sitting at number 6 nationally, or they were number 6 nationally to begin December. They are now number 2 nationally. No, I'm sorry, they fell to 3. I will read this right, I swear, at some point. This week, South Carolina is 3 in the net behind UConn and UCLA. 2 weeks ago, they moved up to number 2. Now they're at number 3 behind UConn and UCLA, and they're number 2 in the AP poll since the Texas loss. Again, it was a low-scoring affair at CLA for the South Carolina women yesterday. Here's Dawn Staley post-game talking about the offense, which struggled, was out of sync.
I thought we just played sped up. I just thought we just took rush shots. I don't even think the defense was really impacting it. I thought we just were out of sync. I thought Medina made some adjustments and making quicker moves out there, and sometimes she's just gonna have to continue to make them to see how effective it is. Just off offensively, just off, and the field goal percentage shows it. It's not to say that Georgia did not play good defense. It wasn't that, but I thought it was more us, because it wasn't our normal shooting motions. Everything was like too fast with more than 2 or 3 people.
Yeah, sometimes you get sped up, you play fast, and it's not the defense, it's just you. It's just you. Rough shooting day for the women. But again, defensively, they were nails. The environment bugged Georgia a bit as well. Matter of fact, Georgia's head coach, Katie Abrahamson Henderson, said she thought the atmosphere of Colonial Life rattled her team. She said 8 of my players have never played here. Took us till halftime to get settled down. But the good news is Tania Latson did make her return after missing 3 games with a sprained ankle. She played only 20 minutes, finished with 9 points. Once you get Latson back involved in the starting lineup and playing her usual amount of minutes, that's going to help the offense a ton because Latson's so efficient. Whether it's scoring inside the 3-point arc, shooting the 3, getting to the line, and she can get her own shot. And she can get hers, and that can help an offense. If it's struggling and scuffling, if you got somebody who can say, look, just give me the ball, get out of the way, and let me go make a shot and settle us down. That's what Latson can do, and now you get her back healthy, things are going to go better. But again, only 20 minutes for Tania Latson in her return, scoring 9 points. We'll get more Dawn Staley coming up in the Gamecock Notebook at 5:15. Also around the sports world, in case you missed it, Dylan Raiola in the transfer portal from Nebraska is transferring to Oregon. Saying, well, Terry, has Dante Moore said what he's going to do yet? Not yet. The current starting quarterback has not talked about what he's going to do, but Moore is looked at as a first-round pick. Some people think he's going to be top 3, top 5, top 10, whatever. And even though Moore struggled like nobody's business against Indiana in that college football playoff semifinal game, there are NFL teams who really like Moore's talent. And he's going to go in the first round. But it is interesting. The 3 best defenses Moore faced this past year, he struggled in all 3 games. Really struggled. Now, you can say Moore's he started 13 games this year and 4 games at UCLA. Experience matters. It just does. The more experienced quarterbacks have a better chance to succeed in the NFL than the least experienced ones coming out of college. They just do. See Anthony Richardson. So, there was talk Moore might go back to Oregon for another year to get more, more seasoning, more cooking, till that little timer pops. But if you're going to be a top 10 pick in the NFL draft, and if you were told that by NFL folks, and there are teams that have said, we will draft you, you just got to go. I said this to Jay last hour. Whether you're ready or not, you got to go take that money. It's a business decision. Now it's up to you once you get to the league to bust your hump to get yourself ready. Because if you're going to go in the top 5 or top 10, there's a good chance you're going to go to a crappy team with a crappy organization and a crappy owner. So you got to get it together as fast as humanly possible. If you go to the Jets, that's where your career just went to die. But if you're Dante Moore, you really have to go. And Dylan Raiola, they said, he goes to Oregon with the idea of knowing that there might be a chance, no matter how small, that Dante Moore could come back. But then Raiola would do what Dante Moore did. Dante Moore sat behind Dylan Gabriel for a year. Now, see, I can hear all that, and I'm not saying it's not true, but I would be surprised if Dylan Raiola goes to Oregon with the idea that he might be a backup in his head. So I think this tells you that Dante Moore most likely, and things can change all the time, will end up going to the NFL draft. And then Dylan Raiola will take over, it feels like, as quarterback in Oregon. Look, Raiola, you saw the talent on the field. It's just some of this off the field stuff like this, with the weird, creepy obsession to be and act and look like Patrick Mahomes. A little weird. Some of the stuff off the field involving the family, because remember, it's a legacy family in Nebraska, the Raiola family. It just had a bad smell to it. It just did. But, Raiola wouldn't be the first quarterback ever to go to Oregon to rehabilitate. He's got a lot of talent, so we'll see. Also, there is word that Sam Leavitt will end up at LSU. That's what sources are saying. Remember, Leavitt was at the basketball game sitting next to Lane Kiffin when there's rumors that Kiffin was, texting up Damon Williams at Washington. Leavitt went to a visit to Tennessee. He's also visited Miami and Kentucky. But sources are saying that Leavitt has decided to play for Lane Kiffin. Look, I think it's a good decision. I do. Look, Will Shields at Kentucky obviously, did great work with quarterbacks at Oregon when he was offensive coordinator. Shannon Dawson at Miami has helped Carson Beck and Cam Ward. But Kiffin, the offense is going to be really good. You're going to get a lot of chance to shine. And Lane just had a quarterback drafted in the first round. And Lane, obviously, look at the success he had at Ole Miss. So I get it. And I'm sure that Sam Leavitt, I'm sure the NIL dough isn't bad either. I'm sure he's got some bags to put in the car. I got to take some stuff out of the trunk. Why? I got bags. I got a lot of bags. I got to put them in the trunk. So Sam Leavitt leaving Arizona State, and it feels like we'll be playing at LSU. Tonight, by the way, the last of the wild card round, Steelers hosting Houston. I think one of the big matchups in this game. The Texans have arguably the best pass rush in the league. Their edges, Anderson and Hunter, I think 29.5 sacks this year. The Pittsburgh Steelers offensive line, second best pass protection grade per Pro Football Focus. Aaron Rodgers only pressured on 25% of his dropbacks. I think one of the biggest keys to this game, who wins? The Steelers up front, offensively, or the Texans pass rush off the edge. We'll see. But it's I think the Texans win. Their defense is fantastic. Their offense isn't anything special like the Steelers' offense, but I think that Texans' defense is a game changer. They'll force a couple turnovers, and they'll leave Pittsburgh with a win. But I'll say this. It wouldn't surprise anybody if the Steelers won some low-scoring slobber knocker, like 3-2, 2-0. Okay, 16-13. Wouldn't surprise anybody at all. I think the Texans will win, but again, if the Steelers somehow crawl out of, I still call it Heinz Field, crawl off the turf with a win, I would not be surprised. But it feels like whoever wins this game, their season ends next week anyway. That's just my feeling. That's tonight. But Carolina calls with Dawn Staley tonight, 7 o'clock right here on the Game in Columbia and our affiliate in Myrtle Beach. We'll hear more from Dawn Staley and Lamont Paris next in our Gamecock Notebook right here on the Postgame Show on the Game and the Game Network. Now let's jump into the Gamecock Notebook. Men's and women's basketball. We'll start with the men. We heard a little bit from Lamont Paris earlier. One of the things that was kind of working and made you feel a little hopeful, and maybe it's something positive you do take out of this game moving forward, was South Carolina went small ball. Went with a smaller lineup. It seemed to work better. And look, I almost feel like this way. You don't have really a consistent low post presence at all. You might as well just go play a small lineup when it's really not working. Like Elijah Strong scored 30 against LSU, and it really made that, despite the fact that was his career high, was he made some threes. And that pulls the other team's opposing center from away from the basket, and now the lane opens up even more for you to attack, right? But if Strong's not making threes, and he was 0 for 2 Saturday, and he was in foul trouble because Georgia's front line scored 38 points in the paint, you've got nothing else going on consistently, down low. Just go small. And that's what South Carolina did in this game. They went small. That lineup was interesting. And here's Lamont Paris talking about the defense with that small lineup during the game against Georgia.
Some of it, well, they got in that lineup, I think they only got one lob. I could be wrong on that. This is just off the top of my head. But what that lineup allowed us to do, and why this was a different, not that we would have gone to it or needed to for most of the game in the LSU game, but the one difference, too, is how much of an offensive impact does the big typically have? And so one thing we were able to do in this and during that stretch, we were switching the ball screens. And so in reality, I'd have to go back. I don't want to say something that's not accurate. My guess is they got less off the actual ball screen in that time. Now, we were switching one time, and Eli he chased hard over the screen, and it was a tough scenario, and he was not able to get back to the switch quick enough, and they got a lob on that one. But it did afford us the opportunity to switch some of the ball screen stuff when you have guards like that can get downhill. In fact, 2 of Elijah's fouls came from a guard getting downhill and drawing a foul on him. And so I think that's one thing you can help alleviate the ball screen. We fronted one time, and they didn't throw the lob in there, so you have to rebound. That's the one thing. You got to have some guys that'll rebound if you're going to be able to do that. And then you have to be getting paid off on the offensive end, which in today's game we were. So, aside from them putting Somto back in there, we also had some guys that had been in there for a long time. Miles had, I think, been in there for a long time. So it was time to freshen that lineup up anyway. But and so that was, I think, probably the key to us doing it. The catalyst was that they were bringing Somto back in the game.
Here's the other part of this basketball game. If you look at the minutes of the guys who played, 6 guys basically played 20 minutes. Strong, Sharvjamps, Knox, Michi, Studi, and Eli Ellis. Then you got single-digit minutes from the other 3 bigs who just didn't bring you much of anything. Combined 4 rebounds with a 3, and all 4 were Esecondo. Because Simeon, Esecondo, and Butler played a combined 18 minutes, scored 3 points, pulled down 4 rebounds. Did not block a shot. Eli Ellis had a block shot. The 3 bigs off the bench had no block shots. It's just there is nothing consistently going on in the interior on either end of the court. This is not consistent. So with the matchups there and the way the game flow was going, Lamont went, screw it, let's go small. And it did bring some positives. And we might see it some more maybe. All right, so the men lose. The men lose 75-70. The women won. It was something, 65-43. Not the prettiest one in the world, but wins are wins. Joyce Edwards and Medina Okot both had 14. Okot had a double-double, 14 and 10. Here's Dawn Staley after the game talking about her squad needs to be more disciplined.
Yeah, well, just to be a little more disciplined. Like we weren't even in our spots on the floor. Like we were just we weren't even moving smoothly to setting screens. It was just like weird. Like it was weird. You just want to play discipline. You try to get them in sets where you know where people are supposed to be and they can get to those spots, so we can get into a rhythm where people are shooting where they're supposed to shoot and in rhythm. Probably got a little bit of it in the third quarter. We ended up losing that quarter, so it was at the expense of us not playing better defense. And then we got a little bit with it in the fourth quarter. I think when we inserted Isla in, it started looking a little bit more like ourselves.
It was just kind of clunky. Sometimes you just have those games. I really think, again, Tanaya Latson getting 20 minutes in her first game back, get her incorporated back in the lineup again, because Latson brings so much positivity to the offensive end of the court. I mean, that's a huge thing. And once you get Latson back in her rhythm, since she hasn't played in 3 games, and then you get the starting lineup where you need to have it, and then you have your bench set the way you want it, and you're not super deep to begin with. So, I mean, McKeer off the bench in 24 minutes, she had 8 points, 10 rebounds. Quite the help coming off the pine. But it was a tough shooting day. 38% from the floor, only 12% from 3, only 2 out of 17 from 3. Latson banged a 3, and McDowell hit a 3. That was it. That was just tough go. Offensively, with South Carolina still wins 65-43. All right, here's another cut from Dawn real fast. Texas is coming to town on Thursday night at CLA. Here's Dawn's thoughts about, got to improve if you want to beat the Longhorns.
I mean, you're going to have to put more than 65 points on the scoreboard to beat Texas, I think. Okay, I do think that defensively we did some nice things. Like all the intangibles went our way. I thought we did a good job at changing our defense up and playing a little bit of zone. I thought we executed that extremely well. We've been working on that. Rebounding was well, and I thought for the most part we were locked in how they were screening, some off-ball screening. So, I mean, we have to put it together. We got to have a really solid game on both sides of the ball to beat Texas. It's a big game for us. Everybody knows that. There's a lot of implications regarding the game that are near and far.
Yeah, you have to play better. You have to shoot better. Yeah, absolutely. Lost to Texas earlier this year. You like to avenge that loss? Absolutely. But you've beaten them, what? They played 5. You played 5 times since last year, and you've won 3 of them. Won 3 out of 4 last year, and you lost the 1 this year. I mean, the Texas, it's becoming a thing. I mean, again, Vic Schaefer's got a long history playing against Dawn Staley. The 2 head coaches. But, yeah, you got to get better if you want to beat Texas. Absolutely. And that, again, is Thursday night, 6:30 pregame, 7 o'clock tip. You can hear it on our sister station, B106.7. Thursday night basketball on the B. Drive Around the SEC is coming up next here on the postgame show. Terry Ford, happy you're hanging around with us as we go till 6 on the game. I'll get you caught up on the traffic at 5:30. Some stop-and-go traffic happening I-20 westbound between Broad River Road and Bush River Road between exits 65 and 63. Also I-26 westbound between Sunset Boulevard and St. Andrews Road. Again, that's slow traffic. Accidents, Duke Avenue between Dundee Lane and Monticello Road in Columbia. Also Fitch, jeez, I tell you. Fish Hatchery Road and Charleston Highway, accident there. Also I-20 westbound between Faro Road and Monticello Road. That's exits 72 to 68. Also northbound I-77 after Fort Jackson Boulevard, exit 10, and Park near Laurel in downtown Columbia. Drive around the SEC is next. Oh, time to take a spin around the SEC here on the postgame show. SEC basketball we're going to take a look at early in the conference season. If you would have went to Vegas and put money down that said 3 games into the SEC conference slate, the 2 teams tied for first place would be Vanderbilt and Texas A&M. If there's that kind of a bet, you'd have your own island. Vanderbilt is 3-0, 16-0 on the season. And if you look at the Ken Pom rankings, Vanderbilt's the highest rated SEC team. Vandy, number 5 on offense, number 11 on defense. That is the formula that puts you in a conversation to maybe play for a national championship when you're that good on both ends of the court. Vanderbilt also plays fast, top 40 in adjusted tempo. That game with Alabama last week was phenomenal. That game was fun. Alabama top 15 in tempo, Vandy top 40 in tempo. They were going up and down the court. Difference was Vanderbilt actually tried to guard people while Alabama was like, yeah, I don't want to get too close. That guy's sweaty. And Vandy won the game. So Vanderbilt undefeated, 3-0 in conference play, and undefeated on the season. And I'm telling you, Mark Byington has done a phenomenal job as the head coach of Vanderbilt. No one's shocked. Byington was coaching at James Madison when old Coach Sig was there running the football team. Byington's a good coach. A lot of people thought that was an excellent hire by Vanderbilt, and it's paying off right now. And how about Buckyball? Texas A&M with Bucky McMillan taking over for Buzz Williams, who rolled off to Maryland. Bucky McMillan, and Buckyball's fun, man. You want to talk about tempo? You want to talk about offense? You want to talk about fun? Tempo-wise, A&M's 20th in the country. They're 3-0. They're like offensive and defensive efficiency numbers are like in the 50s. But they move it up and down the court, man. They play fast. And they chuck threes. 47% of their shots are from 3. They also pass it around. Their assist to field goal percentage is really good. Now this year so far they've beaten Oklahoma, Auburn, and LSU in conference play. Nobody thinks Oklahoma or LSU are going to be great. And Auburn, well, they lost their head coach. And, well, the new head coach, things aren't clicking yet. But A&M is undefeated early in SEC play. Buckyball is a good time. If you get a chance to watch A&M do it. Then you got a lump of teams at 2-1. And then you got a lump of teams at 1-2. LSU is the only winless team in conference play. I'm going to tell you, Coach Matt McMahon, if LSU doesn't get it turned around, this will most likely be his last year in Baton Rouge. Unless financially, because they're spending so much money on football, they you don't want to write a check for the basketball coach to go away. South Carolina is sitting in that 1-2 lump, along with a lot of teams, including a couple of ranked teams in Tennessee and Alabama. Alabama they got to start carrying on defense. They really do. They're 77th in the country in defensive efficiency. When Alabama guards you, they're a really good team because offensively, Alabama is just stupid good. It's just, do they feel like playing defense? Because they feel like playing defense, they're hard to beat. But Alabama right now is sitting at 1-2. I believe Texas beat them last time out. And Tennessee, wow. They got curb stomped by Florida in Gainesville. And Florida's now 2-1 in the league, the defending national champions. They're going to be as good as their backcourt. Fland and Lee. Boogie Fland, Xavier Lee. Both, who people thought in Gainesville, two high-level transfer guards who was going to make up a dangerous backcourt. So far, it's been hit or miss. They've had good moments. They've had moments of basketball term. But if Florida can get the backcourt playing consistent, that front court's scary. So we'll see. But Florida's now sitting at 2-1, defending national champion. Real quick, Georgia, who is a top 25 team in the Ken Pom analytics, they're ranked, and they're now 2-1 in league play. South Carolina had them on Saturday, let them off the hook. Had them and let them off the hook. So, anyway. Georgia, look, Mike White's biggest problem when he coached the Florida Gators was he wasn't Billy Donovan. You don't want to be a guy to follow the guy. You just don't. Mike White, they're going to build a statue to Mike White at Georgia, and in Gainesville, they ran him out of town with torches. But Mike White's he's a good coach, doing a hell of a job at Georgia. Arkansas, under John Calipari, they're not in the mood to guard people either sometimes. But they're 2-1. This league is going to be very interesting this year. I mean, Vanderbilt's run off and they look like the best team in the league right now, but last time I checked, you don't cut down nets in January. So we'll see what happens with Vanderbilt and Texas A&M, to be honest. I think that'll start to come back, even though Buckyball is fun. I love Bucky McMillan and how he coaches basketball. So we'll see where that goes this year in College Station. And Missouri's 2-1. They're not ranked. Again, you look at kind of like the more deep dive numbers. There's some stuff there that makes you go, interesting team, and some stuff that makes you go, ooh, not very interesting. But they're sitting at 2-1 in league play. Defensively, Missouri's just had some issues. They're in the hundreds in defensive efficiency. That's terrible. You just got to get better. Flat out get better if you're Missouri. But they're sitting at 2-1. This league is a big lump of teams. We'll see who gets it together, starts to play better and play more consistent, high-level basketball, and we'll see who rises to the top. But right now it's Vanderbilt and Texas A&M. So as you drive around the SEC, just getting you caught up on what's going on with SEC hoops. We'll do a little Jay versus the internet without Jay, give you a couple of ideas in the wagering perspective of what's going on in tonight's wildcard playoff game, and we'll try to check some other stuff too. And man, Jacksonville lost yesterday. And 18 seconds of the postgame press conference caused all sorts of stuff. We'll get to that next as well here on the postgame show with Terry Ford. Thanks for hanging out. We go till 6 on the game.
Stafford going towards the end zone. Parkinson! What a catch! And a touchdown!
There is the game-winning touchdown for Matthew Stafford as the Rams survived, man. Look, I thought the Rams would beat the Panthers big. I give Carolina a ton of credit. I do. They hung in there till the very end. The Rams had to, score that touchdown late. Carolina couldn't. They couldn't go back down the field and try to at least tie the game. Carolina got stopped on downs 4 straight plays, couldn't gain any yards. But the Panthers did a lot of good stuff in that game. And look, they were 8-9 football team. And I say I don't think 8-9 football team should be in the playoffs. But if you win your division, you win your division, right? Bryce Young had some good moments and some not so good moments. But it's your first playoff game, and your team was ahead 31-27 when you left the field. Jalen Coker was really good. Tet McMillan had some moments. But again, the Rams have a ton of pedigree from that. From the quarterback, Matthew Stafford, the head coach, Sean McVay, some other players on that team. They're just I think they're the best, I think the most complete team in the NFC. But they almost got beat and went home. That was a heck of a game. And I think it was going to be a heck of a game. So good for the Panthers. We'll see what happens moving forward in a very, it's there for the taking NFC South for next year. All right, our little Jay versus the Internet segment. Terry Ford stepping in for Jay. He's got to be snoring right now. Our man getting his rest. He will not be with us tomorrow. He's got some stuff he's got to do in Raleigh that regards his treatments, and then he will be back with us on Wednesday, and obviously we're all thinking good thoughts for Jay. All right, Texans and Steelers. Texans are 3-point favorites in Pittsburgh. The over-under is 38.5. Heck, it could be 8.5. I think this is going to be low scoring. Neither offense is anything special. That Texans defense is something else. I said before, Donnell Hunter and Willie Anderson coming off the edge have 29.5 sacks. The Steelers had the second best pass blocking grade on Pro Football Focus. Aaron Rodgers has only been pressured 25% of the time, and part of that is Aaron Rodgers getting the ball out of his hands quick. Rodgers didn't throw a lot of passes over 10 yards this year, and to be honest with you, wasn't very good at it. He didn't complete over 45% of his throws over 9 yards all year. If the Steelers can not let the Texans pass rush or the Texans defense affect them, force turnovers, create havoc, Steelers can win the game. I'm taking the Texans because I think that defense is going to cause issues. I think Pittsburgh will lose at home. But like I said before, it wouldn't surprise me if the Steelers won some low-scoring snore fest. It wouldn't. I think this game's going to be low-scoring anyway, which means it'll be 100-99. All right, also the over-under for tonight, like I said, 38.5, I'm taking the under. So I take Houston and give Pittsburgh 3, and I take the under. That's the way I'm feeling. All right, real quick, couple stories before we get out of here. Ben Johnson, the head coach of the Chicago Bears, has really rekindled the rivalry with the Packers. This thing was sort of like, well, we know what it is. You've been rivals for, 100 years, but it's kind of settled into, we're the Packers, we're a lot better than you, you're the Bears, we're just going to whoop you, then we'll hug you afterwards, okay? And we'll give you some cheese heads to take home and give for Christmas. Well, Ben Johnson has decided to put some anger and hate back into this thing. The talk between the coaches, Ben Johnson and Matt LaFleur. Johnson did a drive-by handshake to LaFleur after the Bears came back and won that playoff game on Sunday. Then Johnson did an emphatic bleep the Packers declaration in the locker room. And then Johnson doubled down in his presser today by saying this is a rivalry. And for the city of Chicago, Green Bay, it needs to be a rivalry. He says, I hate those guys. Bleep those guys. I love it. Get the hate back in this rivalry, man. That's what a rivalry should be. Rivalries today have gotten a little soft. And should you respect each other? Sure. But you can respect each other and hate each other. So, again, the Ravens are my favorite team, and the Ravens and Steelers is arguably the best rivalry in the NFL, and it's gotten a little soft. Those guys used to go on the bus after each other after a game. There's still a rivalry there, but it's not that level of hate. The Ravens and the Steelers just kind of sit around and respect each other. But that hate thing's gone. I love seeing this with the Packers and the Bears. Get some old-fashioned hate going. That's fun. Absolutely. All right, yesterday Jacksonville lost. And then this comment from a reporter flipped the whole world upside down. A reporter talking to Liam Cohen in the postgame presser.
I just want to tell you, congratulations on your success, young man.
Thank you.
You hold your head up, all right? You guys have had a most magnificent season.
Thank you.
And you did a great job out there today.
Appreciate
so you
it.
just hold your head up, okay?
Thank
and
you,
ladies
ma'am.
and gentlemen, Duval, you the one, all
Thank
right?
you, ma'am.
keep it going. We got another season, okay?
I appreciate
Take
it.
care and much continued success to you and the entire team.
Thank you, ma'am.
Now, that was the press conference. The reporter's name is Lynn Jones. She is a credentialed reporter. She's been a reporter for 25, 30 years in Jacksonville. And when Lynn Jones did this, she's from the Jacksonville Free Press News, old school journalists lost their mind because it kind of breaks the protocol of a press conference. Like when I came into this business back in the 1700s, the protocol was it's a press conference. Journalists are working. It's a Q&A with coaches, players, front office owners, whoever. You're having a Q&A to presser. It's professional. You ask questions, you get answers. Bam. End of story. So when Lynn Jones sat there and complimented Liam Cohen, a lot of old school journalists were like, that's no place there. There were some, old school journalists said, hey, after the press conference, walk up to him and say that. A press conference is no place for, some people looked at that as fandom. And again, I grew up in a world when I first started, you didn't do that at a press conference. Would I do that at a press conference? No, probably not. No, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't do it at all, matter of fact. But I guess for me, as I think about this, we've blurred a lot of lines now. We really have. I mean, journalists used to never give opinions. Now journalists are opinionated as hell. Everybody is. I mean, if journalists are on social media cheering for their teams, journalists will tell you that, the team they're covering is their favorite team or whatever. You got TV analysts who were former this team or that team who will root for their teams. Play-by-play is nothing but fanboys screaming and yelling. I don't know. It's just we've blurred lines so much now. Again, would I do that at a press conference? No. It was just the way I was taught in the business. And I'm not a journalist, and I don't cover a team. But people getting really crazy about this. I mean, feel how you feel. But we blurred all the lines today. We just have. So, again, if you don't like it, fine, but it's just the world we live in, some of that traditional stuff is gone by the wayside in a lot of different ways now. Not just what happened yesterday at a press conference where a lot of folks in the journalism world not very happy with that exchange. And I get it, but I also, again, I see journalists now who are cheering for their team. So it's just, you got to be objective and professional in the press conference, but you can, again, cheer for your team away from it, but you get upset about that. Again, I would not do what she did, but I'm not all that up in arms about it. I just think the world changes, man. That's all. I get being upset, but it's 2026. All right, we'll talk to you tomorrow at 3 here on The Game.